When I'm exploring the overworld, I get excited at finding things. Villages, ocean monuments, woodland mansions, and all the great views that I happen to come across. I love looking for loot, especially when I can find a lot. But recently, I've been wondering about where the loot comes from. Who left it? Why is it there? And what does it mean? And we have some clues in shipwrecks like the treasure map, or in ancient cities like disc fragments and armor trims. But there's at least one structure that does not obviously serve a purpose or give many clues as to its significance. The Jungle Temple. It holds secrets and clues that we will seek to uncover, and we're starting right now. On August 1st, 2012, Minecraft 1.3 was released and jungle temples were added. Technically they're called jungle pyramids, which is odd because they don't resemble pyramids at all. But I'll call them temples since that is what I've heard them referred to as the most. If you glance at them, you'll see that they're built out of cobblestone and mossy cobblestone. These seem to be quite basic materials compared to other structures in the game. If you go inside, you'll find a simple combination lock made of levers. You'll also find traps made using redstone. There are no other naturally generating buildings that incorporate redstone other than some parts of ancient cities and woodland mansions. But the Jungle Temple has redstone at the core purpose. The Jungle Temple uses redstone for traps. Whoever built them did not exactly like the idea of someone going in. Now we don't know who built them or why they were built in the first place, so let's look inside the chests. We find some insignificant items like rotten flesh, bones, and bamboo. We find more valuable items like iron, gold, diamonds, emerald, and enchanted books. But we also find something peculiar: saddles and horse armor. This confuses me because the jungle is hardly a place that is friendly to traverse, especially with a horse. It makes a lot more sense in the desert temple, which is in the middle of an expansive desert, but that's for a future video. Get subscribed so you don't miss out. There is one other item, the wild armor trim. This armor trim does not look particularly fancy, but it might still be important. Now we know that whoever built this temple wanted to protect their loot from outsiders. There is a lever combination lock that you could figure out which opens up a piston door. Or you could just mine through the piston door. The traps are pretty simple but significant. We can see tripwires that toggle dispensers to fire arrows. So why is this significant? Well, there is one piece of information that gives us a huge clue. The Jungle Temple is the only structure that generates naturally in jungles, other than ruined portals which can generate anywhere in the overworld and in the Nether. There are no villages or any other types of ruins that generate in jungles. So why does this matter? It matters because it means that whoever built this temple may have wanted to hide it. As I stated before, the jungles are very dense and hard to navigate through. Also, since it is made out of cobblestone, its builders may not have had much time to build it, or may not have cared to give it a fancy design. The only block which stands out is the chiseled stone bricks that are behind the levers. But this on its own doesn't mean much. Who could have made this building, and who are they hiding it from? Well, let's examine the jungle first. It's very dense and very green. It is the ideal place to hide a small structure, just like a jungle temple. There is also the bamboo jungle, which is also dense and hard to navigate, albeit easy to cut through. So why would someone have wanted to hide their treasure here and not underground, which would make it theoretically harder to find? Maybe they wanted to be able to find it again. But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because the jungle pretty much looks the same no matter where you go. It's easy to get lost in there. Maybe it would have been too hard and too complicated to build it underground, which is understandable. But we might have another clue as to who built these temples. The chests can contain saddles and horse armor, which, as I said, is odd because jungles are hardly easy to navigate with a horse. But the people who built these structures rode horses. They also were experienced with enchanting. And I know this because we can find enchanted books in these chests. But there's one thing that stands out to me. We do not find any weapons or tools. The builders were not fighters, or maybe they just didn't bury their tools and weapons in these chests. So let's break down what we can figure out about these temples based on the clues we have found. We know that whoever built them didn't want outsiders to know about it. They also built them out of very basic materials. They were horsemen, and they were experienced with redstone. They also had multiple valuable resources like diamonds and gold. They used armor trims, the wild armor trim specifically. They also did not live in the jungle, they were outsiders. But I think we're missing a crucial detail here, and it lies with the most basic and unassuming items found in the chests: bones and rotten flesh. The chests found in jungle temples are caskets. People were buried in these chests, in these temples, by a race of people. But why? Maybe they were important people to this race. Now, they could have been horsemen, because they buried saddles and horse armor along with their dead. But they also could have been miners, or could have had connections with miners. I say this because of all the resources that they have buried. We don't have any evidence outright that they were miners except for possibly one thing: the stone that the temple is made of. It could mean that they mined and were able to dig up lots of stone while mining. Of course, stone is easy to get, so maybe not. But let's examine this idea of them being miners. We find resources like iron, gold, and diamonds in these chests. Those are only found underground. Also, there is redstone circuitry found in the temples. Redstone is mined from underground. But I think there's one thing that will unify this whole theory: sticky pistons. But seriously, I do think that sticky pistons are significant to the background of this building. Number 1, they are used in piston doors. And number 2, they are made with slime balls. Slime balls are dropped by slimes. Slimes are found in only 2 places: in swamps and underground. Now this can mean 2 things. They either traveled through swamps, or have mined underground. In each case, they have killed slimes. So which is it? Miners or horsemen? I think it's horsemen. The only evidence we have found for miners is that they had valuable resources found underground, and we don't know how they got them, but we don't have evidence that they mined them. There are no pickaxes found in the chests. We do know that they buried their dead with horse armor. I think it was the armor of the horse that they rode. That still leaves a question though. What was their profession? Were they traders? Thieves? Scavengers? I think the most likely answer is traders. I say this because thieves would have needed weapons and tools to steal. We don't see that they had those. Scavengers would not have just come across iron, diamonds, and gold. They traded with villagers, miners, enchanters, and other horsemen. That is how they get redstone, gold, emeralds, and diamonds, as well as enchanted books. I also think that they encountered thieves. I say this because we know they had horse armor. The targets for the thieves would be the horses, because the traders would be much more vulnerable without their fast horses. But that also leaves a big question. Why would they build temples inside jungles to bury their dead? I think the answer here is pretty simple. The ancient horsemen built temples in jungles because no thieves would bother to explore the dense jungles for treasure. Jungles are difficult to navigate, which makes them perfect to hide valuables. But just in case anybody did find them, they set up traps that only they would know were there. They didn't have a lot of time or resources to build these temples, so they built them out of cobblestone. After they were built, it was time to get back on the road again. But we're not done yet. They put 3 levers on a wall that unlock a secret door to another chest. They wouldn't have built those if they didn't want anybody to find the chest. So they may have wanted a way to access the treasure that they buried as well as the remains of their people. They wanted to hide the remains of their people, but also wanted a way back in case they rediscovered their temples. It's also worth noting that not all jungle temples are created deep in the jungle. Some generate on the edge. They couldn't hide the temples in plain sight, so they laid traps. They also made a way back in that only they knew how to access. So there we have it. This is the story of the jungle temples. They were likely made by a race of horsemen that wanted to hide and protect their honored dead, as well as their loot. The jungles were the easiest places to hide them, and cobblestone was the most convenient building material. I wonder what this means for the rest of Minecraft's lore. I wonder about all the other ancient people of the overworld. Now I'll still loot these temples when I come across them, because I don't really care about desecrating the temples of code corpses, but now I better understand what the backstory of these temples are. I want to hear your thoughts. Did I miss something? Do you maybe have a different theory? Please let me know in the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And I will see you with the next theory. Bye bye.